I'm sorry.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, 125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. 125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com, and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Haken-Prosthetic, let's go. Lyric video. You guys can follow along, inshallah. Oh, okay, this is going to be good. This. Damn. boop. Get your
All
mans
right.
up. Hey, Vinny on the drums. Holy smololi. Guitar goes chug, 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 chug. Someone check my blood pressure. Holy shit. That song was heavy. The name of the song is Prosthetic. The name of the band is Haken.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all. That was the shit, says Slipknot Sean. That song was really, really good. I'm very, very, very glad that we ended on that song. Holy shit, that was heavy. Man, this Nick kid, huh? Holy shit, Nick. I don't even... This is... I'll say it this way. This is by far the stream that has the most 10s on it.
I don't think so. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it? Well,
I don't think... Did they rate
the Lone
did
Rider
any of the
just said
songs?
I gave 6 on his.
Yeah, but he had an 8-song joint, and I don't know if I gave a bunch of 10s though. We have
Right.
we have a bunch of mutual 10s and 11s and 10s and a halves here.
Right, exactly.
I don't know, man. I don't know. This dude, holy shit. Nick?
But, okay, my favorite, well, we'll get to what my favorite one is at the end. We'll just stick to this song for now. So what are we talking about here? Sleep deprived, another chalk line marks the walls. Fighting? What are we talking
Altered
about?
blood work awakening. Tame the storm. Electric prosthetic parks. They can't contain them. Why incite the trauma? Magnetic north on the borderline. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So sick of these questions. I've heard them before. I don't know what it is you want to hear. The more I steer, the less becomes clear. I think he's probably...
To me, sounded like fight. We fight. It sounds what it sounds like. I don't
What do
want
you
to
mean
talk
when we
about
fight?
it anymore.
Oh.
So sick of these questions. I've heard them before.
Well, it's a weird situation. Like, I'll try to like exit the conversation. I'll try to like flee. I'll try to escape. And then you'll draw me back into the conversation.
Yep.
What's happening there? Like, do you believe that there's a point that I missed, or maybe a point you missed, or do you believe if we talk about it more, we'll resolve it? What's happening when you draw me in?
When you try to exit the conversation,
yeah,
I'm unclear as to what should be happening because now we're leaving something unresolved. And then what do? You just pretend that unresolved thing is not there and you just go on with the night as usual? So I keep drawing you back in because I want us to get to a mutual calm point.
Yeah, my the Buckler. Mm-hmm. He has a couple phrases that to me are like life-changing. Mm-hmm. And one of them was about the détente. So détente is basically you're at two warring factions, they're at an impasse, and they just decide, all right, we're not going to kill each other, but we're not going to agree. And he says he's a big fan of the détente, and that's one of the reasons he stays married for as long as he does. And obviously in the previous relationship, it didn't work very well that way because,
well,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Shorty was trying to murder me, but like,
you can't have a détente about that.
yeah, you can't have a détente about that because the kids want me alive. You know what I'm saying? So like, that's not something that we could compromise on. But like, I think there's a whole bunch of other things where it's like, okay, do we need to fight about this? Does there need to be... See, to me, a resolution is if I say to myself, I can tolerate this specific thing I don't like for the next 20 years, then I'm not going to fight about it. Right? So if I do that arithmetic...
That's how you do the arithmetic?
Yeah, I'm like, can I handle this for the next 20 years without going off and making life miserable for her? And if the answer is yes, and I can tolerate it, then why fight about it? That's kind of like...
it's going to keep coming up.
Like, for example, the situation that came up earlier today. I was like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah.
I'll just do what you want. You know, let's do it. But like, that doesn't generally work for whatever reason. So I feel like this at times, but I'm like, I don't want to talk about it anymore because I'm like, yo, I have the solution, but I don't know. And I don't know. I'm not particularly convinced all the way that my way of handling that is necessarily accurate. because I've never read about it, any of the books that I've read. But I don't know. But go ahead.
I thought it was sad, like earlier when we were talking about it and you said, I was like, yeah, but what, you're just going to go on with the night as though it didn't happen? And you're like, I've been doing this for years. I'm like...
Been doing what for years?
Where you just say, I'm just not going to care. This is just not a big deal. I'm just going to let this go and go on with the night as usual.
Yeah, but I think that happens in every relationship, though. Like, there's some stuff where it's like, oh, I'm not going to talk to Vinny about that. Now,
yeah.
Right, so, like, everybody does that. I'm just saying on a scale. I think what you're saying is the issues that I'm doing it with are too major for me to just overlook it. There has to be some sort of agreed upon, thing.
Yeah.
And to me, especially, okay, so here's my vantage point on that whole thing. The necessity for there to be I'm just using this as a placeholder, a right spouse or somebody who's right in the situation. The evangelical Christian couples are not taught to agree to disagree. So simultaneous to that, they're also taught that the man has to rule the roost. So put those two together. You can't agree to disagree and the man rules the roost. What's going to happen? Well, every time there's a disagreement, the man is going to end up winning in the sense that his perspective is going to be the law, because if you come at an impasse, then you have to agree with the person who's the most powerful. And that's what they say when they talk about submission and authority. They'll say, well, if people are in an impasse, who gets the deciding vote? So I don't want to prosecute our relationship that way. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I would much rather say, okay, like, all right, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would much rather surrender the point than always have that in my back pocket. But if somebody has to be right all the time in these discussions and we can't agree to disagree, then it's going to come down to a power struggle, and I hate that shit.
I think that I would be more good with agreeing to disagree if, like... some of the stuff, like, we've talked about it a million times, blah, 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 whatever, like,
yeah.
You remember those conversations. I don't. Because a lot of times I remember a conversation by how it made me feel.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember what we talked about. I just know that I felt like X, Y, and Z after the conversation.
Right.
So, and I can, sometimes I can drum up details, like you said. If it's going to fit what I'm trying to prove, then I'll be able to, but... and other things that I'm not able to do that. But I guess this is probably not, I don't want to sound offensive, but like I want to have a non-toxic discussion, and it never seems to go that way. It always seems like I end up getting defensive and you seem angry.
Well, you don't always, No, I don't think you always get defensive.
Well, a lot of times it feels like that's what happens to the discussion.
I just think it's a certain category of discussion where I don't think you are at peace with the idea that people can agree to disagree in relationships. I don't think that that's something that you can accept.
Yeah, there's only like 2 days out of the year where I can accept that.
Yeah. And then so my problem is, you come from, and a lot of this I think is religious, because when people are told the man is the ruler of the house, he's the king of the house, blah, blah, blah. If there's an impasse in a decision making, then it has to default to the man. If you're taught that all the time.
Honey, I don't think that's what they said. My church was not big on that. And that wasn't really how it was at my house. Like, I think my mother was the one that made the most of the decisions, because my father would say, this is how I want this to be run, and it wouldn't go that way. Well, I mean, that's why we always had disaster bedrooms. Like,
well, yeah, but that's because...
So I can't use that as a reason. I wasn't around that.
Well, yeah, you were, because what's happening in that situation is the pendulum is simply swinging the other way, where your dad was still operating from that template, but your mom was basically saying, I'm not going to listen to you. Mm-hmm. So the template was still there. It was just and that has manifested in our relationship, right? Mm-hmm. Because those are the dynamics that you're taught, and that's the dynamics that people, when they talk about Christian marriage, like, they bring it up, and then because of that, it makes it damn near impossible to collaborate.
Oh yeah.
Because you're not taught relationship roles from a collaborative angle. You're taught it from a autocratic angle. And so that's why there's a lot of times when I'm like, why are you coming to me with this? I don't come to you. I just go and handle my shit. Why are you coming to me with it? Well, it's because you were taught that that's how this shit is supposed to go. And I can do it by myself because I'm a man or whatever. I mean, I don't know, but it's very, very frustrating. But at the same time, when I look at evangelicalism and all that, I was taught the same shit you were taught.
Yeah, well, it's different.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's different to me, like if you'll notice when things are in regards to our hours babies,
Yeah.
I don't go to you a bunch with them.
Right.
I make my own decisions. And I trust my decision, whatever. But when we're dealing with blended families, I don't trust my judgment on the situation, because I don't know if I'm extra frustrated, if I'm going easier on them, or if I'm, I just don't trust my motives on the entire situation, because it's different. Like I love all of our kids.
Well, that's why a collaborative approach in my mind is best, so that we can come to a goal. And then we can kind of work together and well, no, we weren't trying to work. You had a specific goal as to where we needed to go. See, that's the difference. That's the difference. When you and I are talking about this shit, I know there's a problem, but what the fix is and what caused the problem, I don't know until I get the information. You believe you have all the information once you put your eyes on something. So that's a fundamental difference between you and I.
Well, I thought I had all the information, but I didn't trust my motives. That's why I was coming to you. And that's why
Yeah, but you don't trust mine either, because you said I was coddling him.
Well, I want to hear yours and I want to hear mine, because then I end up, seeing different things, because there were other factors that I wasn't thinking about that I didn't get in my head until the conversation progressed.
All right, what I'm talking about is, it's very possible that two rational, intelligent people who love each other can look at the same situation and come to different conclusions, or believe that there are different methodologies we need to employ to solve the problem. And so I don't have a problem with that. I'm okay with that. That does not mean that we're not unified. It just means that we're two individuals who are coming together, but we haven't lost our individuality. Like in the Bible says the two becomes one flesh. Like God still talked to Adam as an individual and Eve as an individual. So I feel like a lot of times in Christian marriage and they try to make it, oh, you're one flesh, or you've lost your individuality, especially women. And that, obviously it benefits me, right? Like, that evangelical structure benefits me. Like, I'm trying to make my life a lot more difficult than it needs to be. You know what I'm saying? So I would much rather a collaborative approach, but evangelicals aren't teaching that shit. And the main reason is because evangelicalism is run by men, and we don't want to do the hard work of giving our kids a hearing or our wives. We just want to rule the roost and not have that struggle. I want the struggle, but I just don't want to be put in a situation where I'm like, when you say resolution, it has to be, I agree with you 100%, even emotionally agree with you. Because there'll be times that I'm like, I disagree with that call, but okay, let's do it. And that's still not enough. So to me, it's like, oh, I've got to agree with you, not only, in theory, but I've also got to like give this full-throated, yes, I do agree with this thing.
Sometimes I'm trying to get to ascertain your perspective on it, and then as the conversation progresses, I get more and more frustrated, and I feel like you're misunderstanding me, I'm misunderstanding you, I'm not listening because I'm too busy looking at like what I think you're saying, or what does that mean behind, what is that, whatever. I wonder if if this would even work, but just to have like let's say we use a whiteboard and then we write the problem at the top, and then I say, these are my things and this is the conclusion I would put here. And then you can write your things and put your conclusion, and then we can see, like, maybe that would work. Like, because I don't I think that it looks like I want us just to agree completely. I'm not sure. I think
No,
there
it
are
looks like
times.
you want. I don't believe you want us to agree.
But
I
then I
believe
want
you
you to
want
agree
me
to
to
me.
agree with you and your specific decisions. And on top of agree, I have to also emotionally support it. Like I have
there
to
is
like
times where
I have
it's-
to like be with, and I'm like I don't,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna lie to you. I'll still support you and provide a united front to the kids, because in my mind, in my arithmetic, even if I don't completely agree with it, it's still better for the kids for them to see a united front, because the minute they perceive any sort of weakness or whatever, they're going to try to exploit that. So I and you know, I tip my hat to them. They should, but you know what I'm saying? Like I mean, you know, there's honor among thieves. You know what I'm saying? So that's all. That's all I'm saying. Like I immediately I'm like, because right before we started the video, surprise, we had a disagreement. Can you believe it? So yeah, that's obviously. I was like, I wonder if she's gonna be thinking the same thing. You know,
On the song?
Yeah.
That's so funny. I did not think that's what you were thinking with the song.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that you were, you know, eye for an eye, like the whole thing, you know, like the little. So I just,
Yeah.
you know, but I you know, I just think it's part of relationships, and none of this was supposed to be easy.
So here's a question. I was thinking about, for some crazy reason, our kids, well, one of our kids not all of them, one of our kids believes that him and I are basically sinless. Okay? It's completely irrational. And then I wonder to myself, like, is it healthy to, like, oh, no, this is the thing. So I saw this thing on crying, and it was talking about how, like that socially, like, boys don't see people crying all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. Like, their moms don't cry in front of them and stuff like that. And then they get in a relationship, and then the girl starts crying, and they're like, holy shit, what are you doing? Like, why is this happening? And they're very uncomfortable with it because they haven't seen somebody. And girls will cry if they, you know, I'm speaking in generalizations here, but they will cry sometimes when they feel like they're not being heard, or they feel like something's being misunderstood, or they're hurt, or there's lots of different reasons why girls will get to the point where they're crying. And so I was wondering, like, obviously I don't want to cry in front of my children. But I thought to myself, is that, like, for them, for their future? You know what I mean? Like the boys, they don't see girls crying.
They don't?
Who do they see crying?
I mean, girls in the neighborhood.
What are you talking about?
Last summer? The one with the A, she falls and skins her knee. They don't cry. So you're saying
I'm not saying little children.
You're saying the boys don't see girls cry? Is that what you're
They
saying?
don't see me cry. If I'm overwhelmed and I'm crying, I don't go in front of the kids and see that. And Zoe, she keeps that to herself if she feels overwhelmed. She's not showing the boys. So the boys are creating it, and their mother doesn't cry like that. Once in a while, I think she kind of melts down.
No, she doesn't.
But, well, they've seen her melt down and get, like, but that's a rare occasion.
Yeah, but
and
that's
they
still
have
not
her in a
crying.
different category, too.
That's still not her crying.
So,
Like-
but you've seen, well, I didn't cry in my previous relationship. You might have seen me cry just like a handful of times. That was something I was not gonna show that level of vulnerability. But with you, I'll cry, and, like, I was thinking, like, would that be difficult for the boys? Like, if they're used to never seeing the girls cry. And obviously, the girl that's in a relationship with him, she's gonna cry probably.
I mean, I want to do as much. I want to expose them to, I mean, obviously age appropriate, to as much as they're going to experience in the real world with a safety net.
Right. Well, so then,
Right.
like,
so
I have days where I'm overwhelmed, and I'm like, I have to go. He doesn't like it if I drive when I'm feeling overly emotional, but it's like, well, we have this tiny apartment, you know, tiny in perspective to our family size. You know, we've got 8 people in this apartment. That's small compared to that, but it's a bigger apartment. But anyway, I don't want to sound like too much of a complainer, because we have a basement and stuff like that. But anyway, like, do you see what I'm saying? They don't see me cry. They don't see it. So do you think that
I mean, I don't know.
you said you think to introduce them to the most of the stuff, but I don't think I could do that.
I mean, that's my philosophy.
I don't think I could cry in front of the
I
children.
mean, I cried for them, and it's fine. You don't need to. I mean,
honey, once in a lifetime.
It just depends on what your goal is. I just think we have different goals in these conversations. That's the other thing. Like the last conversation, I have a completely separate goal, and there's different things that are happening in my mind with that situation. Whereas, I don't know exactly what your goals are. So maybe that's the real conversation. I think part of the problem that we have is because I'm so principle based. A lot of times I'll talk past the actual situation. The situation itself a lot of times is incidental to me. I'm trying to draw out the principle that got us there, because that's how I was trained.
I want answers on the conversation. Maybe that's why we get out of the conversation. I'm like, this is stupid. Why did I even have this conversation? I don't have any answers.
Yeah, and for me, like, I'll always say I don't have enough information to get these answers, bro. That's the thing. It's like, I don't know what's going on in that kid's head. I don't know what's going on in, Sayla's head when she does X, Y, or Z. I don't know. So you got to talk to them and let them have their say and let them explain their reasoning, and then you have to decide, okay, is this foolishness or sinfulness? Is this high-handed rebellion, or is this an educational moment? There's like a lot of things that I factor in.
Yeah, but
that
when you talk to somebody, they
don't
can lie to you.
I'm sorry?
They can lie to you.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can lie to you.
And so what do? You just say, well, hope for the best?
No, I mean...
I'm
a Christian,
you
so...
You assume innocence unless you see that it's a lie, is what you're saying. Not me. I'm like, no, you're lying to me.
I'm gonna assume...
I'm assuming you're lying
No,
to me.
my assumption is that those kids are gonna make 50,000 mistakes in a day. And to the degree that they trust that they're loved unconditionally, they're going to confess it. But if they don't trust that, then they're going to lie to it. I don't think that they're lying to us because they hate us or it's high-handed rebellion. They just don't want us to look down on them or be disappointed in them. But, there's a lot that goes into it. What I'm saying is, like, I understand where you're coming from with that. But, I mean, the song was kind of ironic considered. Okay. This was unwise.
What was?
It was very unwise. What do you give the song? It's a 10 for me.
Even when you try to do what was right, made a bad decision. Okay.
You got
it's a what for you?
You got it rough.
It's a what for you?
It's a 10 for me.
No, it's a 9 for me.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Holy smokes, Mr. Sir, Mr. Nick. DJ Nick, you kicked ass today, bro. That's the objective truth. Holy shit. You guys did a really, really good job. Thank everybody for sticking with us. We really appreciate you. YouTube land, we will check you guys out later. Shout out to the big homie DJ Nick.
DJ stream Nick.
XBM
still here.
XBM gave it 2 pistols up. Come on. I think he ran the tables. This is the highest cumulative score thing though, for sure. All right, guys.
My favorite one was that
the railroad funk one?
No. What was the name of it? It was the
Bratva.
I don't know what it was
whatever.
called.
Yeah.
That one.
Okay, that thing. Okay, I see you.
That one was the best. And
all right.
I would have liked to have ended on that one.
There you are, dear listener. All right. Having said that, dear listener,
sure.
Vin out.
Sorry out.
On the last trip that I took, I fucked up my ankle.
You know what he's talking about, right?
Yeah. I fucked up my ankle really, really bad. So when we first started, I had been like 6 months from that incident. And so when we started the channel, I was like limping around and shit. Anyway, there was comments about my legs, and then Tina started saying that Vin doesn't have legs.
Tina started this whole thing, and
Vin
she got me
legs.
on it. So then I started saying Vin. We would say it was really
people
terrible
really believed
because
it too.
People believed that he didn't have real legs, and I would say rude things to him and stuff, and nobody said anything.
They'd laugh.
They'd laugh.
She'd say all this ableist shit about my legs, and they'd laugh about it.
It was a social experiment.
I'd say something to you, and all the white knights were like, "Oh, this is terrible." Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, there's nothing to do with her attractiveness whatsoever. No, you guys just." Anyway, much love to everybody. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.